Okay, this is where we stopped in the NephilimFree calls God temporary video. And I don't like, it's really kind of boring to just say, somebody's wrong, somebody's wrong. Let's get something positive out of this. And I'm going to flip this now and show you where some of what he says is right, but it's not right the way he thinks it is. Okay? This is the tool. What you see on screen, BibleWorks, this is used by pastors. Okay? And, so is Logos and Accordance and other software. But this is for specifically for pastors, so they can properly teach the Bible. And yeah, it takes time to learn. Okay? But this is how you do it if you are a pastor. You do the word search that we're doing. You do other things too, but this word search is really critical to knowing, how the Bible uses a word so that you know what verses to study. See, we're looking at Exodus 14:13, which I just finished at the last video. We're covering Eis Ton Iona, which we've already seen many times. Okay, since Genesis 3. In the right-hand window, you see the verses posted in English, and then the text I'm searching on is Greek. Okay, but, we've seen that. This is the same phrase that's been used. Okay, in Genesis 3:22, 6:3, 6:4. Well, 6:4 has got a different prepositional phrase, but it's the same idea. Genesis 13:15, again, that's for Adolam. Exodus 12:24, again, that's just like Genesis 13:15. So you see, it's the same usage. And that way you can track how the Bible uses words. All right, this is what people need to do in order to know if what they believe is true. See, the Bible gives you a way to prove it, and then it tells you. Now, what I said is I want to show you a flip side to how NephilimFree is talking, because he's bringing up the point that there is an ending. He's saying Iona and Olam, here's Adolam again, means an ending. Yeah, and we have an exact English equivalent for Adolam and Eis Ton Iona. You know what that English equivalent is that should have been translated here instead of using forever? The equivalent is to the end of time. See, ion is used to signify time, a specific period of time or time itself. It's a key word for time, and so also is Adolam, which we're going to see later on, hopefully in this video. Okay? The exact English equivalent for this phrase in Hebrew, Adolam, and Eis Ton Iona is to the end of time. Iona and Olam really mean time. The whole concept of time. To the end of time I will love you. Okay? Time. Traveling in time. The whole concept of time as a thing. As a, what do you want to call it? A property of the universe. Okay? God is timeless, so for all time, Olam. To the end of time, Olam. Adolam, actually. Adolam, to the end of time. That's why we use the word forever in English. It is simpler and easier, but it's much more dramatic and more close to the Hebrew to say to the end of time. For all time. Throughout time. Because the root meaning of Olam is time. Whether it's a specific period of time or all time. So that's why you have to go by context. And NephilimFree is picking up on the fact that it means, he's busy saying, well, it means horizon. Yeah, the horizon of time. See, God knows what Stephen Hawking is still trying to figure out. There is an event horizon, the end of time. There is an end to time. Okay? There is a point that is the end. Yeah, and we'll never get there because we're finite. God is timeless, so he's already past time. And that's what Adolam references, and it's ironic. Oh, for all time. Yeah, well, but time's never going to end because God never does. You see that? See? Eis Ton Iona, for all time, to the end of time. That's the horizon. So NephilimFree is citing sources that are actually, pagan Greek scholars. Okay, he's not citing the right ones, but he's citing some of them. Okay, that is, are talking about olam in the Hebrew section. Olam as an ending. Yeah, the end of time, because it means time, the horizon of time itself. So it's translated with eis ton aiona. Eis is a preposition of destination, going toward a place or a moment, okay, of time. Now, time itself is a series of dots that continually exist. See, God is infinite. So every moment in time is less than God. Every moment in time technically never dies. The moment you were born is still alive to God. It's dead to you. You're out here now. But it's still alive to God. It's still playing. It's like a loop. When you put your MP3 player on, you play a song in a loop. All right? Each note in that song is constantly alive to God. The note never ends. We move through time because we're finite. But technically speaking, time itself is just there. See, that's what this means. Olam. It's the event horizon, as Hawking would put it. Eis ton aiona, to the destination of time, to the end of all time, to time. Well, there's no end to time. It's an expression. Because each moment in time is like suspended to omniscience. But we're moving out of that moment. It's like you're in your house. At that moment in time, you're standing in the door to get out of the door. All right? To omniscience, you are still standing in that door. But to you, you've moved out of that moment and into now your front porch. Or the front, you're now before the door, whereas before you're after the door, whereas before you were before the door. Okay? So, when you see this stuff, forever really means the end of time, of which there is no end. Ad olam. Now, like I said, there's 490 verses, 583 hits in the lower left-hand corner of the screen, and I can go through them over and over and over again, but I'm going to cut to one now that is going to show you something about what I just told you about time. Okay, see? This is Psalm 92, from everlasting to everlasting. All right? Now, what is being translated there? Here's the Greek. Apo tu aionas, eos tu aionas. Okay, that's how you say it in Hebrew. Aion is our famous word here, which we've seen mostly as eis to aiona. But now we're looking at it in the genitive. The genitive is stronger. It's a belonging to case. Okay? Apo means out from the source of. Tu is a definite article in genitive case. And here's our friend aion again. Eus means until, has the same meaning as the Hebrew ad, which we'll go over in a minute. Tu aionas. This is an idiom. Specifically, it's related to something in Greek called a lexeme, which talks about the highest, the most, the outer extent, that you can't compare this to anything else. Okay, Paul uses it in Philippians 3:21, or Ephesians 3:21. Yeah. Apo tu aionas, eos tu aionas. That's how everlasting to everlasting, that's the Greek equivalent of that phrase right here. Okay, now we're talking about God's attributes, right? From everlasting to everlasting, you are God. The Hebrew is actually stronger than that. Okay, and we're going to see that in a minute. But just get the Greek now. Apo, out from the source of. Tu means the definite article. You always use that in Greek. Aionas, that's genitive. Okay, for aion, as you can see in the lower left-hand window. Eus, until. Tu, the aionas. Okay, so from time eternally past to time eternally future would really be about the best way you could say it in English. Now, here's the phrase in the Hebrew. Okay? Adolam. Okay? Olam, actually the whole phrase is this. Wa, that means and in Hebrew. Ma, that am there that looks like a mouth. Okay? That's highlighted in yellow now. It actually worked. Means out from. That's where the word apo in Greek is coming from. Ma. Means Greek preposition means birth from, out from, separated from, away from. Okay? Olam, that's our friendly olam. Ad, to, that's where eus comes from in the Greek right here. See, here's eus. Is translating this. Means until. Ad also means until. Olam. So here's the thundering Hebrew. Wa ma'olam, because the Jews say this a lot. Wa ma'olam ad olam. It's a very common phrase in Jewish Sabbath worship. Ma'olam ad olam. Adonai. They don't say, the sacred tetragrammaton. They substitute the word Adonai. Adonai is how they say it today. Okay? Ma'olam ad olam. Ma'olam ad olam. That means exactly the same thing as apo tu ionas, eos tu ionas. And it means from everlasting to everlasting. You are God. Now, in the Hebrew, it doesn't say you are God. Ata means you. Okay? As you can see in the lower left-hand corner. It's a very dramatic way of saying it. El. Okay? El. That's the oldest name for God. Of course, Moses is writing in the 1400s, so he's using the old name for God because he's alive. And Hebrew was older then, and that's how they called him. El Elyon. El, for short. Okay? Ata El. Okay, so what the Hebrews here are saying is, out from time to the end of time, you, God. That's the literal Hebrew. Check it with any Jew you want, because it's a very common phrase that's used in Sabbath worship. This verse is often cited. Okay? Ma'olam ad olam ata el. Okay? From everlasting to everlasting, you, God. See, el is in a positive. That technical word for this is a positive. A-P-P-O-S-I-T-I-V-E. See, this is a noun, you, and this is a noun, el, God. You, God. That's how we should say it in English. It's dramatic. Okay? So, apo tu ionas, eos tu ionas, su. And then in Greek, they stick in the word R. Okay? But I can't go into there's a very clever Greek syntax rule being used here, but I'm just going to leave it out. Okay? It's from everlasting to everlasting, you. Okay? And really they're saying, you are. They're not even using the word kurios, which means God. Because it's, only God is from everlasting to everlasting, so they don't need to repeat the word God. That's a symptom of laconic writing in Greek. Okay, so now do you see? This is talking about God's nature. Ad olam. And to make it even more dramatic and stress the fact that it's everlasting even more, it's wa ma'olam, out from time. God's timeless, so he's out from time. Separated from time, away from time, bigger than time. Ad olam, until the end of time. Translated in Greek by apo tu ionas, eos tu ionas. Su, ata. Su, you are. That word survives even in Spanish. Ata, you. El, the oldest name for God. In other words, this is 1400 BC Hebrew. That's why El is used instead of the sacred tetragrammaton. Okay, even though Moses knows the sacred tetragrammaton, he's using the oldest name for God in Hebrew because he's talking about God being forever existing. So he's using the first and oldest name for God, El. Hope this helps. I'll make more videos later.